Then there was a protest from the African Development Bank, and then the authorities in Addis Ababa, well, they released them. And they said they will explain later what had transpired. To date, they have not explained what transpired. Of course, that's elsewhere, if it was another authority, would have arrested those Kenyans and locked them up. And there's nothing Nairobi would have done. Nothing. We would have just waited until Dar es Salaam, thinks, okay, it's now okay to release these people, and release them. That's how things play out on the international stage. And it's not going to change today, or it's not going to change tomorrow. Hillary. The other thing is about Farid Zakaria. I watched his take on this saga.
No, it's an AI generated, so let's not even go there.
No, wait, Abdi. Even if it's AI, I wanted to say it could be AI, but the substance of what was said is still stands. That foreign entities can destabilize countries. It's possible. It is. Foreign entities, they can. That people can get funding to pursue foreign ends. And that's one of the challenges of civil society in Africa. They lack legitimacy because they are accountable to foreign entities, not to the African people. I think this is clear, whether it's AI generated or not. That is one of the enduring criticisms against civil society in Africa. They are not accountable to the African people. Their agenda is foreign set. You get Abdi. That's the point I'm making. So in as much as we celebrate civil society actors, we have to ask questions: to whom are they accountable? Are they accountable to the African people? Who sets the agenda? Is it the African people or it's foreign set? Because who pays the piper calls the tune. It's as simple as that. Who pays you will tell you what to protest against and what not to protest against. Isn't that correct? And in Kenya, we have that history, Abdi and Hillary. Most of the civil society actors before 2002 who are very vocal and vociferous as far as human rights are concerned and democracy. They joined the government. Do you know what they became? They became status quo apologists. They did. Defended the very things they had been condemning under Daniel Moi. They did. Just read history, your Kenyan history. So when these questions are raised, it's not like people are justifying torture. No, that's simplistic. It's reductive. That civil society in Africa is inundated with opportunists. Opportunists. And we must call out Suluhu. We must call out tyranny in Uganda, call out tyranny in Rwanda, Juba, and also call out opportunists who have got nefarious agenda on the African continent, taking advantage of genuine concerns in Africa to pursue self-serving ends. Abdi, Hillary. And I asked this question. If you have risen to the pinnacle of power in your country, to the position of a Chief Justice, well, if I see you on the streets protesting, I'll ask, what did you do when you had power? What did you do to remedy this situation that's happening in Uganda, in Tanzania, in Kenya, in Juba, in Rwanda? I would ask that question. If you have ever been a cabinet minister in your country, I will ask, where's your scorecard? What did you do vis-a-vis these excesses that are still haunting people in this region? What did you do? So the questions the likes of Mother Karo should answer, or Willie Mutunga, they should answer those questions. Maraga could say he was part of a panel that outlawed a presidential election. But Mutunga, where is his judgment during the 2013 presidential petition? Where is his judgment? What the reasoning behind that ruling? Where is it? Where is it? We're still waiting. We haven't seen it. So I think he's being opportunistic, isn't he? And these are valid questions to raise, aren't they? They are. Unless we want to look at these things from a confirmation bias perspective, that I'm looking at these things from this perspective. These are heroes. These are what? These are enemies. No, it's not like that. It's not that simplistic. Civil society in Africa is not antithetical to the state. Actually, it's, in actual sense, it's an extension of the state, especially if this state has no legitimacy at home. It's an extension of the state. That is it. If you have ever been to any politics class and that was the topic, you're not going to fail to get to know about that. I yield, Hilary.
Weston, thank you always for your view, and that is your view. We actually respect, and I respectfully disagree with any narrative criminalizing peaceful solidarity visits across East Africa. No laws were broken, passports were stamped, entry was granted. These activists didn't go to fight; they stood in solidarity. Deportation is one thing, but arresting, torturing, or disappearing right defenders crosses dangerous line, I think. This case exposes deeper regional rot and emerging axis of repression in East Africa. This is what we are talking. You're missing the point a little bit, but I'm okay with it. We are not here to dig that on anyone. We are here to defend the right to dissent. If we don't push back now, coordinated authoritarian will become the norm. And let's be clear, without a vibrant civil society, with these civic spaces will even shrink more further. They will shrink further. That's what I think. And what we are witnessing is not isolated. It's an attempt to silence and criminalize regional solidarity. We must resist. This is not a time to allocate blame who gets funding from where, but we are all in this together, and we are doing this solidarity movement. Thank you again. Thank you again for your comment. I will give the mic to Dr. Milton, who's running a class. Dr. Milton, over to you. The mic is yours.
Thank you, Abdi. Thank you, everybody that is in this space. Please give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Um, I I want to start where I always start, and it is important that we do this. We have to pay tribute to the courageous men and women that have paid the ultimate price in the cause of fighting for a better society, a better Africa, better Kenya, better region of East Africa, and in the individual countries. Because I think it is important that we acknowledge and appreciate the sacrifices that been made by those who have been there before, those who are still there and have continued to be steadfast in the fight, and those in our times that have demonstrated that this cause is worth every drop of blood that runs in our veins. I have in mind the heroes of the colonial fight or the fight against the colonialists. I have in mind all the courageous politicians that have been assassinated or taken out of the system or by the system over the years, the JM Karaoke's, and the likes, Owings Kozek and others. And to the second liberation heroes, the six bearded sisters, or were they seven bearded sisters? And to the Gen Zs of June 25th, and all those that have been abducted or killed post June 25th. Allow me to then go ahead and pick up from where Western left. In agreeing with Abdi, I do believe that it is in order for people who have been or who feel aggrieved by what is going on to come out and agitate, regardless of whether or not they have held office, because it is one thing to hold office, it is another to be concerned when things are going wrong. Questions about what they did and how effective or efficient they were while in office or otherwise, even though legitimate, they do not bastardize their efforts when they come out and say this is wrong, whatever is going on is wrong. I think that that is important because we cannot afford to be silent when there is injustice or when there is bad governance or when things are going wrong, merely because somebody is going to ask for us to account for how we used the opportunity when we had it to serve. And I say so because I am aware that sometimes the way this system has been deployed over time, it will take more than just being in office. We've heard of cases or incidents where, for example, you have CSs in office, and I say this because I'm speaking firsthand, out of firsthand information. You have CSs who see everything about their ministries on TV, just like you and me, because they are not in control, because there is somebody who has been put there who is doing the job, and other people are merely there as figureheads. So I think that is important, and that is what we need to audit. Secondly, on the issue of what is going on in East Africa, the sad truth is that we are having a diminishing number of good people occupying leadership positions. And even when we think that our countries are doing better or were doing better, and we have, we had fewer dictators, apparently they are influencing more people deceitfully and through role modeling in a way that now those who are in office are feeling the heat, and as a way of self-preservation they are reaching out to those dictators, the few of them that we knew, so that they know how to hold on to power. And that's very dangerous. That is something that the Kenyan people, the people of the region, and Africa as a whole must be able to rise up and say no to. It has to stop, it has to be called out, and the people must be resolute in calling for better, in asking for good governance, in saying that human rights is not negotiable, and we must have people who care about the dignity of human life and the citizens of the countries that they lead. That is why when this happened, we have been saying, and it has to be said, that Mama Samia and wherever, whoever is inspiring her, that cannot be allowed. What we are saying, even when we acknowledge that in Kenya we are having more atrocities than other places, perhaps it is premised on the understanding that to whom much is given, much is expected. So the reason why probably we are having more cases of extrajudicial killings, for example, and greater violation of human rights is because the citizens are motivated by the fact that we have a progressive constitution and we have a right to express ourselves. So, out of that appreciation, the Kenyans are coming out more, they are outspoken more, and out of that, they are being targeted more, as opposed to other countries where they feel they do not have those freedoms and therefore the people are quiet. So, it is easier for the regime to target Kenyans because, on a balance of proportion, more Kenyans in their millions express themselves more than it is in Tanzania. And therefore, if you randomly sent out people and said, we want to deal with dissenting voices, you're likely to get it is like throwing all balls to the wall and hoping that just waiting to see what sticks. That is what is happening in Kenya. But I think the incidents we've had, the abduction of fellow journalist Maria Sarungi, and what has happened with Tundu Lissu is now beginning to open the spaces within the region. Even Tanzania now, people are beginning to speak. I've been seeing people coming out on TikTok and online, and they're beginning to speak. And that is what we need to encourage. That is what this has got to be about. And as I land, um, I want to call on every one of us that we must continue to mobilize. we must continue to speak for each other. We must remember that our enemy is not that Tanzanian citizen. Our enemy is not that person from Nigeria. These are colonial boundaries that we find ourselves respecting, yet as a people, as the African people, we are one. We must remember, like Julius Malema said, that Africa is one, that a fellow African is not your enemy. We must be able to remember that when you're attacking, when we are speaking against Samia Suluhu, we are not speaking against a Tanzanian. We are speaking against an autocracy, against the African people, and not a Tanzanian. There is no Kenyan, there is no Ugandan, there is no Rwandan. We are all one people under the motherland of Africa, a people that were divided by colonialists who wanted to exploit our resources and enrich themselves. So, this has to be a wake up call for all of us that injustice somewhere in Africa is injustice everywhere. And finally, somebody, I read something last night. I am not so sure whether it was last night or this morning, but I read somewhere where one prominent African leader confessed that when the imperialists came for Muammar Gaddafi, most African leaders were told to keep quiet, lest we come for you. And they watched as Muammar Gaddafi and Libya was run down. And today, it is getting closer and closer because they want to continue. They don't want an Africa that is rising, an Africa that is united. So we are saying, as a people, we must now emancipate ourselves and use the power that we have because the capitalists and the globalists do not want people to exercise their power. That is why they continue to put and install leaders in us, and they have given us a convoluted version of democracy where they are using their resources and their money, deploying them the wrong way to install leaders who are their puppets, like William Ruto and others that we have seen on the continent. We must be able to rise up as a people and say we will exercise democracy. And if we are having resources coming from the West, coming in the name of civic action or social society, civil society, it will be deployed and used on our terms, not on the terms of the imperialists. I land at that point because I have, like Abdi said, I have a class that I need to attend to. But then, good people, Africa has to rise up. We have to stand up and fight for good governance and fight for human dignity and fight for our civil rights because that is our inheritance and that is what we deserve. Thank you very much. Let's continue the debate. I will be listening and we continue to engage as much as we can, even outside these spaces,
Thank you.
because 2 3 hours
Thank,
is not entirely sufficient for us to exhaust everything.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you so
Milton.
much.
Thank you so much for your
thank,
submission. Yeah, we really appreciate that. And thank you, guys. Welcome again on board. We are on the state of the nation and East African struggles against tyranny. And also, when you're giving your
Sure.
views, give way forward, give the solution. What are the action points? What can we do? And also that's our focus. We know all these things happening. We know uh, this thing is there, and we have seen these people. They have been struggling, and we are seeing a lot of corruption, a lot everything that you can say. But also, let us be a focused people. Whereby, where are we going now? Where are we heading to? What can we do to stop these things, even to the coming generation? Yeah, Abdi, you want to say something before we welcome Mjadala? I saw his hand.
yes. I just want to acknowledge Lynn Ngugi, who is also, and Jojo Tieno, who are also listening with us, and to thank them for both, for their unwavering solidarity. I think their presence here speaks volume. And when justice is under attack, silence is not the option. I salute all the activists, journalists, human rights defenders who continue to stand tall in the face of intimidation. And you are the reasons the light is still shining in darkness at this time. And because repression anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And what we are witnessing across East Africa is a dangerous normalization of a cross-border crackdown on dissent. Let this space serve as a reminder. Our strength is in our unity. Our power is in our collective voice. We stand together across borders, across movement, firm and fearlessness in this resistance. Thank you, and thank you, Lynn, again on behalf of Pressure Point. Asante sana.
Mjadala, go ahead. Then Wanjiru is still there. Yeah, Wanjiru is there. Then Dr. Kimani, as we schedule other people. Mjadala, go ahead.
Thank you, our capable host, Hillary, and greetings to you, greetings to everybody else, my brothers and sisters. I came here very quickly to correct something that I think that people often misunderstand. I came in when Western's points were under attack. Western, hello and hugs to you. It's imperative that in our discussions online about the fights and struggles against tyranny, we also contextualize things. I remember very well Western calling out the brutality that was leveled against Mwangi and against the Ugandan activist and everybody else that was involved. I don't want to butcher her name. All right. So Western clearly said that. So for someone to come back and say that we are pardoning, or people who are more realistic are okay with the tyranny in East Africa, that's misquoting Western. And I know he did not get a chance to defend himself. He could have defended himself just fine. But I'm going to be his voice right now. In any debate like this, in fact, I'm going to give you two examples that are happening currently. Number one, someone celebrated his grandmother, his own grandmother, on X, and he's being torn down by our allies, people who are on our side. They're tearing that person down because he's celebrating his grandmother. The language being used against his grandmother is very abusive and very dismissive, basically insulting the grandmother for someone celebrating his own grandmother. Number two, the child of one of the security forces in Tanzania right now is under attack. You understand? The child, mtoto wa huyo security person ambaye anasomea Kenya, saizi he's being targeted. So are we really being nice people, the nice people that we are preaching here, the Ubuntu we're preaching here, are we really practicing it? If people that are on our side are so radical that are targeting extended family members of people that we deem quote unquote bad, be it if it's justified or not, we're targeting someone's grandmother because they have a different view than ours. This person did not say, I'm going to kill my grandmother. No. This person said, happy birthday, grandma. I love you so much. Imagine. So regardless of what position you take on this struggle, or even on the governance of Kenya, if you are my friend and you take that route, we're going to cease being friends because you're becoming too petty. You're missing the point. Okay? So in my view, I think that in debates like this, we have space for each other's voice. In fact, if you ask me, this is the reason why the Gen Z and the millennial movement did not go far, because we started being so catty. Like if Mjadala even suggests that we should temper our expectations when we go to another nation, it's a problem. But that's the truth. You have to temper your expectations. You cannot go into Uganda, into Tanzania, and expect them to act the way you want. You cannot. That is being unrealistic. While we are fighting against tyranny, and myself and Western are on the same side on this, we don't think Madame Suluhu was right. We don't think the way Besigye is being treated is right. We don't think the way the Gen Zs and activists in Kenya is right. We don't agree. We actually condemn all that. But also, we must temper expectations. What does it mean? We're not saying don't go. We're saying go, but be full aware that this is a person you're going to fight for that was ridden with bullets. Okay? So if the case becomes then that you are pushed away at the airport, or if you pass through the system, we know this happens. People ask, hey, why won't they turn around at the airport? You know this happens. Systems happen. Maybe they slip through. That happens. We have to be aware of that too. Okay, so once they go through and then they go get them at the hotel, it's okay. You have to be aware that can happen. Okay, so then what am I trying to say here? That in a debate such as this, if we're going to be critical thinkers, if we're going to be open-minded thinkers, if we're going to be realistic about what actually happens on the ground, we have to account for these things that are happening that we're discussing here. So in discussing the tyranny, now in terms of ways forward, Hillary, as I land, the genesis of what we're seeing right now is a cultural thing that has been festered since independence in Kenya. Kenyan activists are seen, I'm not saying they are seen as people who think they're better than others in the region. Why? Because when we gained our independence, our nation took the economic route and became friends with the West so much than all these other nations around us. In Tanzania, for example, chose the community, Ubuntu side. They raised the humanity more than the economic side. And so, because we're economic giants in the region, all our leaders until today have always been these chest-thumping leaders. And they don't want to listen to the leaders in the region. And guess what? Their nations also know this. They know this about us. So even if we go with a good heart, this is again to my point about tempering expectations. If we go with a good heart, we're going with a good heart. And like Abdi is saying, and I agree, we're standing in solidarity with those folks. That's okay, we agree. But we must also know the image that was created even before me, and know that when you get there, umekuja na roho safi, hawatakuangalia fiti. So in our level here, what we can do is start to create leaders. We have to create leaders who have vision for the people and who stand with the African sense of lifting each other up. Asante sana Hilary, Abdi, and Redemptor.
Thank you for your
Thank you so
comment.
much, Mjadala. Yeah,
I'll just
Abdi,
a
go
few
ahead.
comments online very quickly. There are a few comments that are here. Lynn Ngugi says Uganda's sister is Agatha Athure, a prolific lawyer and journalist. Kibet Bull says Western is were they not prosecuted in accordance with the law? And thank you. Please keep sending your comments. And
I would say the previous speaker should have drunk some water first because amekuja akispit fire. First of all, this is not a debate, so that there are people who are right or wrong. We have to defend and uphold. It feels like you brought a fight on social media to this. People on Twitter are angels. They are tyrants also on Twitter who will do things like attack someone's son. This
You
person
you
knows
have
I'm
a
on
call.
space. Sorry. So I'll finish by saying that we are not here to say if you're an expert in diplomacy matters. Lynn is in the house. She can tell us why they went. They were not there to be activists. They went there to observe a case that was going. And so I don't think in terms of diplomacy, our expectations. I think we are upholding the human rights and the right to express ourselves, but we are not encouraging people to attack each other. And in terms of a movement, of course, movement was infiltrated by people who did not have good intentions. That's not why it failed. And I don't think there's anything that failed. People died. They were stopped by the bullet. Someone was talking about a spark. The spark was sprayed with some red water. So I'll just want to tell the speaker, this is not a debate. Make your submissions without us feeling like we need to cover ourselves in terms of what the conversation is all about. Those are my submissions. Lynn can come and defend herself. And the last one I would want to say about ECJ Mutonga, Dr. Mutonga. I have a case with him, and it's different. That His whole career, all the sacrifices he made were reduced to a ruling. He was the first CJ under the new constitution, and maybe he needs to tell us his journey. I hear people talk about Raila was in detention for this country, has done so much for this country. I've never heard the ECJ talk about his detention, why he ended up in Dar es Salaam, maybe why he has a soft spot for the politics of Tanzania is because they made. He should take his flowers for being a student leader who ended up in detention, and then come and explain to us the gains that he made as a CG. But when we just talk about that one incident, you put the lives of these Kenyans. You go and vote. You vote for somebody who has a case and an indictee of the big court. Yes, there's a. I think that's my cue to stop right there. Yeah. So let's continue. Asanteni.
Thank you so much, Ademta. Before Lynn, I see you. Thank you so much for coming again. Long time. Wanjiru, go ahead before Lynn. Lynn, give me just me. Well, let me give Wanjiru 2 minutes. Then you go ahead.
Oh, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Hillary.
Dr.
Sorry,
Kimani.
I've been trying
Okay, go
to.
ahead.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, after Lynn Ngugi, we'll have Dr. Kimani. He has been here for a while. Yeah, go ahead. Mhm.
Thank you so much, Hillary. Thank you, Redempted Update. Well, I think the when we're talking about the East African struggle against the tyranny, it's absolutely true, and I also go to the resentments of Redemptor. But I also feel like saizi it's kind of we need to liberate Africa, East Africa as East Africans, as Kenyans. I think the Tanzanian, because I've been having a couple of friends who are from TZ, and they're like, they're looking upon us, with the current recent actions from, Mama Samia, or how, I mean, her name is Amin nowadays. We have been having, the current situation is not so good. So the Tanzanians are actually looking for us to see that Africa or East African can be liberated, because ukisikia story of Bonnie and Agatha, you feel so sorry. And Agatha, when she was giving her story, and the fact that she was raped and mutilated inside wherever she was in the abduction site, because I wouldn't call it a police station. um the story is so awkward, the story is so sorry, the story makes me feel bad. It makes me wonder if I Wanjiru saizi, if aina yes ama sijui nani, the abduction squad wakinipata, it makes me feel like my soul imeisha, because I've been anti-government, I've been anti this. Inatupatia uoga, but it shouldn't be the uoga that we should be fearing. It makes me feel like sifai hata kuambia watu jina yangu ni gani nini, sifai hata kusema hivi. It makes me feel like I should probably hide, but we can't hide when our opportunities to be the citizens of this nation, our opportunities, and we are the taxpayers, zinakuwa reduced, zinakuwa. We shouldn't be hiding. So I literally, when we are talking about the East African struggle against the tyranny, I think the Tanzanian and the Ugandans are actually looking for Kenya. And the fact that last year we had the Gen Z maandamano, it gave them hope. I had friends who wakaniambia, oh, Wanjiru, I think Kenya is looking for everyone. I think Lynn is speaking. Okay, thank you. I think the Tanzanian and the Ugandan counterparts or comrades are actually looking for us to liberate Kenya from dictatorship, from the Rutoism, and because if Ruto continue being Ruto the way he has been, the past 2 years ametuonyesha he can be a dictator like the Museveni or be like everyone else. So we have to actually liberate Kenya first. I support everyone, saying Tanzania, nini, 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 but I would also say let that grace be spread inside Kenya. Let us liberate Kenya first before even going to Tanzania. Let's liberate Kenya first before we go to Uganda. Let's liberate Kenya first before tuende kwa Western Africa. People are looking upon us. Wanasema the Gen Z in Kenya, or the people Gen Zote in Kenya, are actually doing a good job. So how can we actually help? How can we are giving them the hope. So my point today would be like, we are struggling against the tyranny, but Let's join hands together. Let's unite and liberate Kenya first and remove this tyranny first in Kenya and show others that it can be done. I don't have much to say today, Hilary. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, Wanjiru. Thank you, Wanjiru. Thank you so much. Lynn, go ahead, and then Dr. Kimani.
I'm
That's all.
so sorry. So sorry.
Yes, Lynn, I can hear you.
Having trouble.
I've been checking my
Asante sana, Hillary. Can you hear me?
very well, bro.
Asante sana. Thank you so much for the consistency and having us here, in good faith, in greetings, in faith that you're going to do justice to the conversation that brings us here. So, bringing greetings from Canada anyway. Or maybe they do historically of how Tanzania has always behaved in terms of East African relationships. For instance, in the 90s, we know that there were, some atrocities that were met on refugees that were coming from Burundi, DRC, Sudan, and other places, and all these blamed that refugees were bringing some, bad blood, bringing some insecurity issues and other things in our country, Kenya, and somehow we almost tried to throw them out. But if you dig deeper into the refugee issue, you will find that there is so much that need to be unearthed. It is not that because the opposition want to use it or anything. There is too much that. So, but I think this is something that people we need to look into that and see the history of Tanzania and how it has related with many people that are in need of their support. But coming to the question of, I cannot, Bonnie, talk about Chief Justice Motunga, Hanifa, Mother Karua, Agatha, and the rest that all went to Tanzania, and they were met with all these problems, of the challenges of the issues. Sorry about that. I think there is yeah, the issues related to Bonnie and others. They were not in any way, form, or shape terrorists, to say the least. These are people that we have known. We have called their names whenever things are going on. We have seen them the way they unearth issues in Kenya. When people's rights are being tormented, they're being denied. So I think it is not always them to fight for us. Sometimes we need to come and fight for them as well. And fighting in this case, I'm talking about, we must call the rest. But imagine, like Wanjiro said, it is you in that position. It is you in that position. Don't you expect other fellow people in your country, in Africa, to come for your aid? We do need to do that. And for instance, let put it this way. Africa was one until some people sat somewhere in 1890s or whatever it was and decided that they're going to put some stupid imaginary lines that now divided not only the people but families and put us in different countries that we now call Tanzania, Kenya, and whatever we call it. And then we have come up with our small. We are Africa, and that's what we should be behaving as. Now, let me go to this issue of the tyranny within East Africa. It is so saddening. Every time sometimes I even try to avoid watching news and all that, because there is sometime, most of the time there is nothing good coming out of it, because it's either this happening in Tanzania, this happening in Uganda, Ethiopia, Sudan, and other places that are so close to me. But why do we get there? Somebody said here in that it is because of the leadership, the people that we bring into leadership that bring this, inconsistency in leadership. And this has affected almost all sectors of our government, not only in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, but mostly in Africa. But why? I want to say that, there's so much interest to be able to call it out as it is, and be able to call these people who bring us second-hand thinking, because the actual thinking that we need to bring is localized. That I said sometime back here, it has to solve the Kenyan problem, it has to solve the African problem. Hatufai kuuziwa. Nobody should sell fear to us. And as I come to landing, because I think I know I may come back with some more later. I want to say that there is a tie that is cutting across, and they do not want that to happen into their countries. I want to say that irrespective of whether it is the Burkina Faso way or otherwise, we Kenyans showed the people of the world that the J25 was a possibility, and it can be repeated. It will be repeated if people continue doing whatever they are doing without minding, caring about the humanity that we are trying to bring together. So a solution to this, I think everybody has a role to play, whether that is if your space allows you to make noise, and I'm talking about constructive noise to people who are crooks, calling them out. If it is picketing against rogue government, we have to do this. And if your space allows you to do civic education, so that people in remote areas and other places that do not have the opportunity to see and hear what we are saying, please do that, because being a Pan-Africanist is not a choice, but the only option. Thank you so much, Hilary and Abdi, and back to you.
Thank you
I'll
so
come
much,
back.
Daktari, and we really appreciate your comments always. And I know in a few months or a few next year you'll announce to us the plan that you have on the country, and we will bring you on board and to tell us more. I saw Beatrice. Beatrice, I know you're the one. You're the people who went to the airport to receive these people who were abducted, and I will give you a mic. If you have a mic, you come up. Lynn Gugi, can you hear us now?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, very
Yeah.
well.
Very good.
Uh,
Greetings to you all. I've just come to greet you as I stand in solidarity with everybody, and I just want to agree with everyone else that has spoken that we must look at us Africans without borders and without borders, and we must to have solidarity. And they will always sow seeds of discord because that has worked for them. Redemptor knows, and I have said this in very many spaces, that I admire these people who have done all the nasty things they have done to us, because they had such a good strategy and it worked for them, and it continues to work. You never hear them planning and plotting in public. So what I always ask, what is our strategy? I find it so sad that even when we have spaces like this, sometimes in our discourses, that we lower the debate so low. So we are just talking about mostly nonsense, and I think that is somebody's plot, and they are very happy when we are arguing, whether it's politics, whether it's, and I kept saying, we very good example, that we get entertained to really, really low, drama. Um, excuse me. And And that is what happens, and that is what fills our space. And we go and say, did you hear what this one said to this one? And did you hear what this one said to this? Swear words and curses and insults and trolling and all the rest of it, because that is what it is. I just came off the phone with somebody, and that, and the long and short I said is that we're entertained to such low grade drama that while we're being held there, there are people with seals, there are people with lots of things, there's children who cannot do their exams and all this sort of thing. And I said, what happened to us? Because before, we used to pick a subject and follow it through, and whether there was litigation and so on and so forth, we did it and we followed it. And now we can't be discussing what somebody did to deserve for their human rights to be trumped. And it doesn't matter. And those people, when they meet somebody who listens to them, they cry and they keep writing to you, even years later, and they said, you saved you saved my life, you saved my family's life. Sign the code of conduct because it says you cannot challenge the elections, you cannot challenge the electoral body, and so on and so forth, and you sign. And then you want that to be reformed. And you say, no reform, no election. And you're slapped with treason. Treason attracts the maximum sentence, which is death sentence. And you're just there in a jail. And I want us to think that, to imagine that we are Tundu Lissu. You're there. Why wouldn't you want your brother from across, anywhere, or anyone who can listen to you come to your aid? What did you do in the first place to be there? And therefore, what would Boniface have done? I don't care what people say about Boniface, but I just know that many years ago, maybe even like 20 years ago, I saw Boni fighting, and he has never stopped. More than those years, I saw Martha Karua fighting, and she has never stopped. Whether she's been in government, she's not been in government, she's been fighting. I'm not a politician, and I don't work in human rights advocacy. So that is where I know them. I know them in those streets. I know Willie Mutunga. Before he became all the things you know him to be, he used to be a very active human rights advocate. The the tag activist, and it's true, that is what we do. But if you look at the profile of those people who stood up and they said, we're fearlessly going because we're convinced that this is the right thing to do, and we're going to stand in solidarity with this person, even if it is at our own cost. Sometimes that is what it takes. And if that is the only thing that is going to take for someone to be liberated, or for you to be able to raise a profile of a case like that, so serious, and that you will save a life of an opposition leader who has done absolutely nothing but to want to get, a chance and a space to be able to compete, which is completely constitutional and within the law. And, how can we be arguing here about whether that is right or wrong? And how can we even be breaking down the personalities who are going to do that work? I think that is missing the point. You know, I also want to say most of these people are not just mere activists. These are serious professionals with, to say to Samia Suluhu that if she was in that situation, we would stand up and go and defend her. If William Ruto was in that situation where we felt that he was being unfairly tried, we would go and say we want to observe and we want to make sure that there is fair, you know. So I don't want to say many things. I've already said too many things and I'm not even sure what I'm talking about. I just know that it is right to be human. It is right to exercise that humanity and to remind all of us that we come from a very great ancestry. If because I know where you come from. You come from Africa, where the people who opened our doors to strangers, where the people who said, we already had it and we just need to go back and get what we've lost. And we will, you know, you will see that we will not relegate our debate to all these things that we are relegating to. There is a tide and a current sweeping across the world. And I think it is what, you know, Captain Fall, all of us. And the debates that we are having, you know, of separation and so on and so forth, they're not going to help us. And I think it is important to think, you know, to think about positions that we take as Africans and position that we take.
Sorry, Lynn, go ahead. We got muted. Lynn, go ahead. Hillary, you can hear me?
Yeah, so sorry, it looked like everyone was muted. So maybe she can
Yeah, I
try to
can hear
come
you.
back.
Lynn is muted. I don't know.
Lynn, go ahead.
I think it's still muted. So yeah, you can welcome
Okay.
British.
Firm and reminding us that justice has no border. And I think I agree with this sentiment. I think her presence in Tanzania wasn't just symbolic, it was a revolutionary. As she said, as we said before, borders may divide us, but our conscience is not. That truth must guide us. Our strategy, truth must guide us forward, moving forward as our strategy. This is what I think. And I think we are clearly facing an imagined axis of repression across East Africa. I think it's a coordinated attempt to criminalize solidarity, dismantle civil society. If we don't push back now, we are risking normalizing authoritarian as the regional order. And for those who call for lowering the bar in the name of pragmatism, let's be clear, lowering the bar doesn't set us free. It entrenches impunity. We must keep the bar high. The resistance must be united. The fire of justice.
Okay, thank you so much, Abdi, for that. Yeah, Beatrice, go ahead. I see Sami Mokai have been here, and also Action Lin Gogi when your mic is, and also Action Lin Gogi when your mic is. Let me know. Baya Paul, you've been here for a while, but okay. Sam, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you,
Evening,
Hillary.
Hillary.
Okay, go
How are
ahead.
you?
Okay, I'm well, Beatrice. Thank you. Sam, wait. Go ahead,
I
Beatrice.
can hear you, Hillary. Can you hear me?
Very well. Beatrice, I can hear you now.
Okay. And unfortunately, I have no volume on this end. You can hear me?
Yes, yes, Beatrice, we can hear you loud and clear.
You
Go
can
ahead.
hear me now?
Yes.
All right. It's really um quite a reflective moment for me as you speak through. And unfortunately, while we thought that it was just solidarity, the solidarity that mattered at this, where we have key political leaders in each nation. Last time that Kenyans have given solidarity, and especially during a key political. And we tried Hussein Khalid outside Uganda House, and we can remember how that happened, that we were met with such force within our Kenyan borders. Now, Kenyans outside of Kenya give solidarity to ask them to be an easy thing. But most importantly, we appreciate the fact that the world has seen the person that Samia Suluhu is behind the red hijabi she was in that day. To bring down the people they should be protecting and the people they sought to protect. It's a shame that even after the world and the community, global community has called out what she did to activists. And by the way, before they are called activists, they are first Kenyans, they're first nationals of their respective countries. So them being in other borders does not make them criminals. Instead, it should affirm the depth that we go to actually borders in the name of borders. Our languages, there are those Kenyans speaking other different languages spoken in Uganda here. We have a uniting language, Swahili. But the moment we talk about government and global leadership, we are reminded that we're not blacks and we are reminded that we're not blacks and we are not people of dictators that we have that are trying to be the change of been taking over since COVID-19. We had to cringe at Boniface came back here looking like and then at the same time have to think about how badly that can be a strategy. First Mongi alone, Kenyans talk, and at the same time have to think about the security and the state that just hoping that she gets. She did, but the us they kept our hearts folding in worry. Brought me into the reality of what it means to be a journalist in Kenya, a journalist in East Africa, and most importantly, a change maker, not just in our communities, but at whatever level. The intrigues about actually getting to give the real solidarity and the economics of it is not something we should ignore. Governments are funded by profit makers. So it's unfortunate that it only takes Boniface Mwangi to be him. It takes Atu Haire to be her, to go through what she went, show up in solidarity. Court case. You know what it means to have solidarity with you, right on those benches. Grace and warmth and send warmth them. We should love them and care for them deeply because it takes people. So many people want to go to heaven, but no one's want to die. People want to eat, but do the dishes. It's time to love those that do the dishes. But someone gotta do it. Someone has to do it. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, Agnes, to Hein Gogi for being selfless. And most importantly, thank you to the mothers and fathers of Africa that gave us you. And on this week that we celebrate the Africa Liberation,
Solidarity and standing together. As someone from Uganda, I'm deeply moved by this collective spirit. Our struggles are connected. It gives me hope to see voices rising across the region. When we show up for each other, we make it harder for repression to win. Thank you for holding the line. And that was a message of hope. Thank you so much. And over to you, Hillary.
I have a question for her because there was the issue of what is the policy, what are the guidelines, what the charters say, and the other question I have is I saw a post by Martha. I would like not to reduce this to individuals, but she made a comment about people from other countries, Western countries, who are allowed to be observers. So I would like to hear what is that and what are the Santi.
Okay, action, go ahead. Then some.
Thank you so much. Well, let me even first respond to just the previous speaker. First and foremost, why these whites come to, or those Western countries come to observe us. First and 52 million euros in just past 20 years in Uganda. Uganda, in past 20 years, has invested nothing in Germany. What does that mean? It gives the other person more credibility and more capacity to rule over you. I just wanted to say that. But We who woke up and, brought these people in power, some that actually took power by force, at the end they turned into criminals that we need to deal with. Look at the high rate of criminality in Nairobi, in Tanzania, in Rwanda. It is all in connection with the governments. Killing, disappearing of people, abducting people. When you go to Suru, same thing she has done in evacuating people and everywhere. So if someone wakes up and is free to come and abduct you without applying rule of law. First, he defies the constitution. Secondly, he goes ahead and defile your rights. And he comes and grabs you from your own house and takes you away. That means he has definitely taken away your human rights. So the question is to stand firm, to fight the criminality. See what Kagame is doing in DRC. See what Museveni is doing and his people. Today, when you have seen the news behind, they want to remove Museveni. Someone has given you, has invested 350 million. You in his country address of communication is here. Human rights activists and defenders, we have to ask hard questions to ourselves. We saw my sister Agatha and my brother. What happened to them? Those are not the only people. If you guys saw what, there's a gentleman called Ed Mutwe in Uganda who was crying before the denied denied bail, denied medical care. Not only that, recently, so many reports that has been documented, even some cases filed on International Criminal Court for technology to track. Imagine if we had trackers in everybody in East Africa. So I think we should do one or two, three things. One, working together. That's where power begins. What we are doing. Three, two, not stop speaking. And three, when it starts in Uganda, we need you Kenyans close your borders, hold all those trucks. Because if we do not defeat our life, it's complete. We are on the edges of graves, and we are saying we are ready to die if it is what has to be done. The thing of working togetherness and fighting for one another, on fighting the criminality in East Africa, which is sponsored by terrorists. These are terrorists. You cannot rule your fellow people and what you only do, it is just to kill them, abduct them, and later you go and start praising. I have someone in my basement, a civilian, a human being. Then you even bring a proof of life. I think East Africans, should not just only look at human rights. Even these thing, they're the same people training them how to use technologies. These cameras which they use in the city to track our civilians, citizens. So I think our eyes should even be away from them, because see what they have. We want me, my message, my call upon to fellow activists. The moment it starts in Uganda, whether Museveni likes it or not, he has to go. And he has to go by all means. If there are some people, come our friends from Tanzania, our brothers from Kenya, the moment it starts in Uganda, we need your help. Just close your borders. Stop those trucks coming from there. Uganda is a landlocked, is something easier to deal with. Otherwise, I thank you so much for that. It is caused because of criminality. We either spend time talking or we wake up and do action and we remove. It is just simple. Within 3 days, for 1 week, we are done. We finish. That is what I can really see, and that's what I can understand. We are tired to the extent that we are tired of even living, like feeling like you're living, you feel you are tired of yourself. This is, we have left our countries. We cannot. You see what happened find Stella Nyanzi is, she's going through that kind of situation. A woman who would be at her home. We are left with no option. And let's pray for Uganda, because I believe the journey wherever we are heading, it is not going to be easy. We need your prayers. We need your support, especially friends from Kenya, especially. This war for Uganda, we should not look at the Western parts much. Those are actually the biggest criminals you have ever seen in life. And we should focus. This is what these tyrannies did not see. They thought that Kenya would be divided, Tanzanians will not speak, Rwandese will not speak, and so these people will be divided and they will fighting one another. But a good thing that at least we still have that God of Isaac, Abraham, and Jacob, God of Moses, that he is still within the people. And so we either save our neighbor and have what eat tomorrow, or we just as being roasted as if tomorrow it's not coming to our own doors. We warned the Kenyans, our brother, we warned you when Ruto started visiting the state house of Museveni. Imagine Ruto taking all his party that they are going to get, I don't know, orientation from Mr. Museveni. What where our brothers are going to be killed, raped, sodomized, even those you know, even those that you don't know, even what is going on. Most of the dungeons, according to the reports, we have 2,000 activists. 2,000 activists who are in different dungeons, abducted, killed, dumped for crocodiles to eat in Lake Victoria. Think about that. Manipulating their whoever their president. We need your help. What is in Uganda is more than what was never before there. You leave alone the story of Idi Amin Dada. So
Mhm.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much. To set you
I
back.
have a new phone. I don't know how to. Absolutely. An activist, Gen Z.
Gen
No,
Z
they are not activists. They are technicians.
technicians, yes.
They activists being done. And activists and activism and advocacy and lawyers and journalists and people who stand in solidarity with others, people who have conviction for Pan-Africanism. You need, for you to go to East Africa, you need a passport. I am a holder of an East African passport. And you go in and, sometimes they don't even bother to ask what you have gone there to do, as long as you have a valid document. And that's legally, that is what the rule is. Um, a trial observation is to harass him, to find his gadgets, and then they suspected that Agatha had the gadgets, and they went for her. What did she do? What did Boniface do? What did any of those people do? Except wake up very early. Some of them actually arrived at 3 a.m. Would you believe? To the airport, you stay there, you get where you're going with a red eye, you go to a court, you live there, you're meeting, you're strategizing, you're meeting different people. You probably don't even have money to stay in a big hotel, so you turn around and you go. It's not just a catchphrase, but it's one of those excuses people say that people are paid a lot of money. No, you don't. You don't need to be paid anything to be convinced about doing the right thing. Nobody needs to pay you. It cannot be paid. In any case, it is not the money that you offer. It is offering yourself. It is the spirit of solidarity. It is priceless. And nobody tells you to wake up. If people are feeling bad about Agatha, who has paid you to feel bad? You just know some injustice happened and it bothers you. It bothers us to see leaders in solidarity to oppress situation. I arrived here yesterday and I saw that there's a bill in to surveil and to say that you must be registered your internet and how many hours you're spending on internet. You're afraid. I'm sure you would, if we ask that question, you would list so many things because they are stealing from you. And while you're disparaging people for standing in solidarity with their brothers and sisters in the region, or just by the fact that they are human. And I think this is why I was saying, I know most of you here are like that. And but more importantly, there is no law to tell you what's happening these days. These days, these guys have so much impunity. They play with you like the cat plays with the mouse. The cat catches the mouse, bites it, and then just lets it there. With so much sadism that you would even put somebody on the photo and you say, oh, I think this time they were just taking a piece, or this time we forced them to do this. That is what is happening. That is what the police in Tanzania did to Boniface and Agatha. And they administrated maximum torture. Like, you can better to stop that. Most of the times it's nothing. They have power and they can use it whatsoever the way they like it. And the lawyer coming to represent a client to the bar, and he insisted, and he made a loud protest, and he was arrested. He did not take a plea. He didn't have to do anything. He was condemned. Do some Boniface can help you do some research and find out how much of Kenya's money is invested in Uganda, and how much Kenya's money is invested in Tanzania. And just decide what is going to unite us. What does it pay you to defend somebody so that you and your family will suffer later? Because I don't think there's any Kenyan that can say that is not going to to bear the consequences of what is happening today. Tundu Lissu, first of all, against all the trial observers, against Boniface, against Agatha, and everybody else, is what is against the law. And is what is against the rules. It is against the African, human rights already. The law against torture, the law against arbitrary detention, the seat, and you listen to the families of those people. And just like here during the Gen Z
And how do we build a real solidarity to protect the civil space and turn that courage into regional movement that cannot be silenced? What is your thought on this?
I think space, but I think it is to call on people who are able to think, who are able to strategize, who are able to also be able to check every weaknesses, your threats, your opportunities. It has to be beyond just what I can say here. That is what you need to broaden solidarity. When you're so I think it's better for you to come together with your neighbor and perhaps think of combined action so that you can do that. So I think look for people and wisdom and summon wisdom for people beyond this space. I think a few of you have to sit and do an analysis of what action you need to of will be telling you we're okay here, we don't need any help. No, they are not okay. Now it's very clear that they are not okay. Let there not systems everywhere would be working. They're not working, so we're not okay. And the only way we can such solidarity, who protect each other, protected business partners. So we need to reciprocate and do it for good, because I don't believe that they do it for good. This is public money. This is blood money. That they thrive on. When people die, when they shed blood, confirm to you, there is nothing that works without serious planning. And I know that most of I keep thinking we haven't had the right conversations and dialogue about what we envision, what we imagine. Can Kenya thrive? Can Kenya emulate the path of the Asian tigers? Because at some point they were like us, even doing worse than us. How did they manage? Do we have what it takes? What do we do, for our health system? What do we even do to push back uh, uh, criminality in broad daylight? We are being robbed in broad daylight and being beaten down, and you raise your head and you're hit, and we have normalized it. That is not normal. It's an oxymoron, and we must do everything to push back. So I'm very sure most of you are smart enough to realize that you need to summon the wisdom and look at where we came from and look at the struggles that have and sacrifices that have been made before us. And even if you want to go and speak to some of those people who have made those, I think the hopeful bit is that it's time. And I think the time is nigh. I think these are not times that you had to convince people. When somebody, you will say to somebody, I'm struggling and that you're walking into a cliff. I think I will leave it there. Um, and and just let us continue thinking and speaking.
And I'm bringing Gen Zs today or tomorrow morning to help you figure it out how you can do other things. Abaya, go ahead. Then Abaya, these people are not
Anthony.
spoken. No. Wait. Abaya,
Me, we have to condemn what happened to Boniface Mwangi in Tanzania, and we shouldn't condone with that one. You can't just make a phone call even to your family. It was very, very uncouth, and we should condemn that. A happy birthday, but then it wasn't. It didn't sit well with the Kenyans, and maybe try. The solution is here. Tanzanians never used to host political spaces, but then after the revolution of June 25th, they started. They took to follow suit, because if systems are only meant
work for politicians in Kenya and not everyone, then we have a huge problem. Right. The same thing is happening in Tanzania. Samia Suluhu the other day was trying to tell the media that not right. So what are we supposed to do as Kenyans? We are being watched not just by Tanzania or Uganda, by the entire continent of Africa. Whatever happened sober, people who have best intentions for this country, people who can steer us to achieve the vision 2030 that we had. Then we're going to lead as an example to the rest of the nations in Africa. But what have we done? Anyone who tries to come up, genuine leaders who have tried to come up with, we start to fight them. Okiya Ruto and his cabal completely want to have our systems working. We cannot have people graduating. Like personally, I graduated in 2022. This is 2025. I've never had a job. It's very, and what you see around is misappropriation of funds.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Abaya. Thank you so much. Yeah, Paul, pick it up from there. Thank you so much, Abaya, for that. And then Anthony. Paul, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
As East Africans, to kind of, I think this thing will be like a whole East African thing. I think something can really happen. I have faith and I believe in that. Obviously, I went to university with a lot of Tanzanians, and they've been my friends for a long time. And especially people, some of them were in politics, some of them who were dads were in politics and stuff like that. The country is kind of different from us in a certain way. So I think there's a little bit of intelligence, and I'm sure even people like the activists who are going there or need to speak and everything, they used to understand. You have to understand the environment you're in as well, not trying to actually to kill. It's not that, as even like what Chacha was saying about the stats. The stats tell us about, like in Kenya, how it happens more, and people die. I think most of it has been said, has already been said, so I don't need to repeat myself. So we need to be just cautious. And I think, like, obviously with unity, I think there are different regimes that operate differently. So that kind of a level of understanding is key. But will be there, and the change will start. And like, as we can see, I think Tanzanians and Ugandans look up to Kenya so much. So we need really to try and help, because I think
What's coming next, Anthony? Okay. Anthony, we can't hear you. Your mic is open, but
Thank you very much, Hilary, Redemptor, and Abdi for hosting this space. I'll be very change, not only in Kenya now, but across East Africa. So a couple of weeks just before the Boniface and Agatha thing happened, I happened to have reached out to Honorable Mother Karua because I'm Kerenyagens is from Geshogo. And she told me people from our office and I'm going to go now from that point to the Boniface Mwangi and the East African thing. So when that happened, we were having a discussion around how do we come around opportunities, that there's a government working actively to make sure that the opportunities these people went to school for, they actually get to maximize them. But then the Boniface and Agatha thing happened, case happened. Went into how do we make this and said, I think they are coming to commit a crime. So arrest them before they commit the crime. I think Boniface is coming to interfere with the runnings of Tanzania. Really? Boniface Mwangi from Kenya has come, figured out the Tanzania government and can interfere with the entire of Samia Suluhu. They call each other. So Museveni will call Ruto and tell Ruto, Bisinja is in your territory. I want you to deal with him. And Ruto does that. Then Ruto calls Samia and tells Samia, I hear other Boniface are in your territory. And then they tell each other, but they call Museveni. We had some technical issues. Mother was on a flight, and so we ended up this lady called about, because I also want us to know one thing, that we are actually making some very positive steps forward. Is that the youth in Africa now looking into Kenya and saying, you Gen Zs, you millennials, Kenyans in as a whole, is us maybe there's someone, a cousin or a nephew in the house. How does that help? Now, the is how democracy works. This is how the rule of law works. She understands this better than me. They have seen so many things we have not seen. They have seen bad leaders come, good leaders come. They have buried good leaders like Kebaki, and they have seen dictators like Sani Abacha. They have seen dictators like Daniel Todicha. That synergy and teamwork is how we are not only going to liberate Kenya, that is how we are going to liberate Africa. And there's
Thank
more,
you.
especially for young people. They will meet a functioning within each other to move this nation forward. Because when a country functions the way it's supposed to be, it is the young people who reap the most benefit from that country, because they meet opportunity.
If all speakers can brief like you, that will be here tomorrow. Because when you started very well, you started that I want to be very brief today, and your brief
Calling each other and saying, because I can't deal with this person within my borders, please help me to do that. And that is why so that we can like Lean has also said, these people, this is the same thing I've been saying. They do put an end and another stop to this bad governance and misrule and the rise of dictatorship. And were serving in the within the discipline forces within their intelligence with their compatriots in the other countries about the patriots in the other countries about the citizens about it. But we need to caucus amongst ourselves and collaborate so that we are able to find ways of snitching. Your mic or your space. But we don't have such power until we then infiltrate into the system because we still have many more Kopshakurs and many more Kopshakurs and many
Boni, Malin Ngugi, Honorable Sir. Redemptor, are you here? We start with Maura. Maura, go ahead.
Okay, asante. Na I hope nasikika. Yeah.
Zuri sana
Eh,
kaka. Zuri sana
eh,
kaka.
okay, then speaking, Tanzania right now is where Kenya was before the removal, the repair of Section 2A to remove that. You remember 1992 when they repaired Section 2A. The back of my hand. In fact, more than maybe even 7% of its population. And I'm going to talk to level to a conversation that Baba wetu wa taifa together, trying together, we Kenyans and Tanzanians, we must have some things in common. Number one, you see Tanzania, the kind of operation that is going there and everything. In Kenya now, where we are today, reforms, no election, because we want to change the election, nothing happens. Now, can you imagine in your wildest dream, Ruto thinking of even putting Raila inside? Kenya hakutakalika. That's how different we are. Yani, Kenya ni kama usiku na mchana. That's the truth. In Tanzania, Mafuguri, the late Mafuguri, stole the whole country, akaweka CCM wote. 2020 we had general election in Tanzania, akaiba bunge yote na 99.9% Tanzania, aliweka mbunge moja tu wa chama cha upinzani. And there was a reason as to why he put that member of parliament there. So the first thing that needs to be changed to change it is the mindset. They have to change the mindset and align up with Kenya. Ukiangalia kwetu Kenya tuna matatizo. We have problems in Kenya. Let's not tusidanganye. But the Kenya so the answer is very simple. Just this thing of going into tribal cocoons. That is what has completely destroyed our country in Kenya. And how I wish come 2027 we can only do one clear thing. And let's not cheat ourselves. Mambo mengi sana inastahili ifanyike huko. First of all, they have told or the commission of commission, he appointed judges, magistrates, that getting out because people now poverty is increasing in Tanzania. People are saying they are being oppressed. People are being because alichekacheka na hawa askari. Now honestly, na huyu ni mwanamke. If it was a man, maybe I could try to comprehend what she was saying. But how do you, as a female president, you be taken from Kenya? And you know what the answer he gave? Since our largest trading partner, it was okay. It's now in the house. That's our foreign affairs. Saying some minister, saying such words. So let me read in 2027 it shall become more clever and how I wish to see Kenya move forward and it become a shining beacon, not only to the whole of East Africa, but also to the whole of because we have a lot of potential education, whatever you name it, human capital and everything.
Things that Maura are saying are very problematic. Honestly, very problematic. I think this and it's because I don't know. We think because we are capitalist oriented. People speak English in Kenya, and therefore Tanzania is made up of junior people who should be babysat. It's like some. I mean, you are in exceptionalism. It's bigotry. Actually, we're exposed. That doesn't need expertise. An old woman, an old man in Tarime in Tanzania knows that across the border, that's a sovereign. Africa is one of the most progressive countries in Africa when it comes to constitutionalism. But Zimbabwean activists crossing the border to South Africa have ever been arrested and renditioned back to Harare and been. I'm not celebrating tyranny in Kigali. That's not what I'm saying. So this confirmation bias through which we listen to one another must stop. That's not what I'm saying. It's like someone telling you, you can't swim in this river. The volume of water is too much. You could drown. Then you can't say this person celebrates drownings in the volume of water is too much. Okay. Your reading is that this person is celebrating drownings in this river. Is that what it is? That's not what I'm saying. That's not what anybody's saying. It's
Yes, yes,
not.
Lau. But I
So
get your point. What do you think that?
pushback. I'm saying
Yes.
you can't fight for liberation in Kenya, in Nigeria, in Tanzania by being foreign funded. That liberation, whatever it is dead on arrival. But they're pushing back, saying
Our nations are sovereign, but East Africa, we rise above borders to stand in unwavering solidarity against tyranny, repression. In one corner, it's a threat to freedom across East Africa. Together, we say
Hillary, this
as a nation, as I said, East Africa, we rise above borders to stand in unwavering solidarity. Repression is one corner of our region, is a threat to freedom to everywhere. So, Chacha, the mic is yours. Thank you.
Asante kwa ajili ya kuheshimu ndugu zetu. Nitazungumza kwa Kiswahili. Paul amezungumza kwa kina sana kuhusu Tanzania, na binafsi I have done from, in fact, the Black Panther themselves, they had a base in Tanzania. Frelimo, Joaquim Chissano, Robert Mugabe was fighting Ian Smith of Northern Rhodesia. Tanzania played Southern Rhodesia rather. Tanzania played Nyerere, a man whose rural home is only 90 kilometers from my rural home, connected silver platter because Tanzania was never a colony of Britain, but a protectorate following the end of World War I and the following. Him the deputy president or the vice president back then. In Kirongwa, as you go to Shirati district, Tanzania shares, there is the dismemberment of communities along the Kuria, the Taitas, the Pares, the Luos. Forgive me if I've forgotten any, but I think perfect, but they have sanctioned it themselves. But I want to say this in the interest of Lynn Ngugi. Zima, who is a member at
any injustice anywhere is injustice for justice is confined to a particular territory. Having listened to most of the presenters and the opinion shared, that mother who is actually protesting, that journalist share the story, support the cause, or just stay awake long enough to care when others look away. Because change doesn't need a hero.
It's respectful and principled. I think this
of crimes against humanity depend on me is the question. Was I that stupid? Are there questions? And then as we move into 2027, into the polling booth, to cast a vote for a candidate. It could be a senator, governor, don't just come. In Kenya, we believe in political parties. That is our system. It is different in Tanzania, for example. Tanzania, they believe that if you want to make that you'll want, that is what they believe in. It's a different thing in Kenya. In Kenya, you must come up with a political party, or you snatch one political parties which are already in existence. You revamp it. Please buy them somehow, pay them so that they can be showing your image now and again, so that people can elect you. On the political activities, don't allow for reasoning. People will be knocking in people's doors with T-shirts, cups, with everything. What is this? If you want to be an alternative voice, there is a language. This can carry the aspirations of people, of majority. So that the enemies can look up. We can talk about these things. We can talk about these things from today, tomorrow, the day after. But until we have a solid way forward, we will be talking like this after 2027, when someone we don't like is in office. I'm sorry about that. Thank you so much, Hilary, and thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Hilary, the host, Abdi Coast, and everyone. I've joined a little late, but I've been really well informed with part of the conversation. Make an effort to really champion for one or two to change my country and to change my continent. Kenya. There is a need for change, for Ruto must go. But the main query we have is, do we have an option? Some of us trips here have chosen sides, which really sings Nani, Nani, Nani. But this Nani will be Nani must go in the next 2-3 years. Just like fella saying that this fella cannot garner a certain number. He cannot garner a certain number. But what if we join
Linus, this has been a while. How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you. I'm well, Hilary. Thank you, Abdi. Thank you, Redemptor, for hosting once again the State of the Nation. I joined when Western was so much charged. Help. But then Kenya and Tanzania, being neighbors, we share history and we have ties. That's a fact. But we are very distinct politically and socially. Even if you check, see that Nyerere put in place the Ujamaa thing. That Ujamaa thing made the people of Tanzania believe in so much of political dissent and is has dominated the power since independence. It has a firm grip on media. Private institutions are abound. Media freedom and civil society freedom in Tanzania is very much restricted. These are some of the different. And especially during the time of Magufuli, there was a serious crackdown on media, NGOs, and online speech. Cannot be blamed for their stature. The only thing we can do is, this is my way forward. aggression and even in it means you'll have to cede some ground. More informed thanks to our political system that gives us a lot of room to challenge the status quo. Something same. So if you check their political system, you'll see some similarities. Yeah. The millennials and the Gen Zs are realizing, this is Kenya, that the political class, there are some families or there are some characters that at the family structure level. So that we can get a fresh start. That's my submission. Thank you, Hilary. Thank you, Abdi.
Thank you, Jared. I think we are on the top of the hour. Academia,
Have been because when you go ground, it's even worse. If we can practice it tweets unless what they are saying is contrary to the actions they are. So are you telling me those belong to the X or millennial? These are Gen Zs. Why do they did it? They do it because Wamunyoro said. So if somebody can tell you to unfollow some 2024, when it comes to politics, different from mobilizing people to go agency. You'll be told that you are a Kikuyu before you become a Gen Z, and they will start telling you the reason why they want you to be identify yourself. Be won by Gen Zs out of political parties or the existing and move on with the blood. But if those
Thank
by-elections
its perpetrators. We cannot afford to say or start questioning to association, the right to political choices are not limited merely public servant. And this is a misconception. Chief Justice and stuff like that. A realm is a fragmented or segmented or limited to one single country. Reason being that those in power are working together. They are in cahoots. And therefore, it follows that the citizens of the continent must collaborate. Dictators use the system that we have given them and the privilege of power of seeing the differences in our countries, in our different jurisdictions or borders that were imposed on us by the judiciary and other constitutional avenues and channels, including impeachment and recall of those who we believe they are not doing that which we have elected them or appointed them to do. And we must stop focusing on the systemic differences between and social justice, and the premise upon which the sum total of that will guarantee attainment of Article 43 rights. Those Article 43 rights are the baseline and oppressors who are continue to entertain this kind of leadership and dealership by those in power. Thank you, fellow Kenyans, fellow East Africans, and fellow Africans for listening to me tonight.
even in terms of human rights, that we have no choice but to know each other, because the things that affect someone in Uganda affect someone in Tanzania and affect someone in Kenya. I feel very bad for people who across East Africa. As for academia, the year of little faith, seeing the people still want to use it as a yardstick. Which is which? Are we going to judge Kenyans? Where did these young people come from from June last year? Where did they come from that lost their lives? So when you for today, and wish everyone a great week, and let's continue demanding for accountability for not just Kenya, for East Africa and for Africa. We know the interest groups in know the handlers and the people who are interested in Africa.
And liberation. I think what we are witnessing across East Africa is not governance, it's the coordinated of its resistance. The struggle is not over, it's only beginning. Let this be our resolve to speak this is not just about one country, it's about the future of free East Africa. We either push back together or we all fall separately.
Right. Thank you so much. Okay, they have dropped. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on Sunday. and what can we do? The action points and the steps. Action points and the way forward all same place as we are here. Ademta Asante Sana, Abdi, Milton, everybody else, all speakers. May God bless you. Till we meet again next week. Bye.